In history that's destroying every civilization without a single battle being fought. Not war, not plague, not economic crisis, but the moment a society stops replacing itself and begins the irreversible slide into demographic death, population collapse. This is how a civilization dies quietly. Rome, the empire that ruled the known world for 5 centuries, didn't fall to barbarian invasions. It hollowed out from within as population birth rates collapsed, and the population that built the empire simply stopped existing. Japan, the 3rd largest economy on Earth, is losing 800,000 people per year, the equivalent of erasing San Francisco annually, with no reversal in sight. South Korea has a birth rate of 0.72. This country will cease to exist. And right now, in 2025, you are living right in the beginning of the greatest demographic collapse in human history. 25 countries are in stage 5 population collapse. Not declining, but slowly collapsing. Fertility rates below replacement level all across Europe, across Asia, across every developing region across the planet right now. Feminism is doing a number on the whole world right now, as we will cease to exist should this keep going at the rate it's going. Here's what should terrify you. This isn't a problem with future generations. The collapse already is locked in. The children who aren't being born today won't be workers in 2045. The economic crisis is already guaranteed. The only question is how severe it becomes, and how fast it accelerates. This is the story of how civilizations die through demographic collapse, how it destroyed Rome, and how it's happening to Japan and Korea right now, as I've explained it to you right now. This pattern is developing all around the world right now. It's going to become irreversible should we become partaking of this trajectory we're on right now. As I've explained, Rome, 15,000 years before anyone understood what was happening. In this episode, we will be discussing feminism, expediting human extinction, the demographic time bomb that is to come for American societies and more globally across the world, as this ideology that women have espoused and pushed for is dooming humanity as we speak. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. I was hearing that I was kind of muted earlier. I had a different mic. Guys, if you can donate $5 to your local coon charity locally so I can go ahead and get a new mic, get a software update, get something that's going to go ahead and fix this issue that I've been having. One's in the chat if you guys can hear me. I don't know if I'm audible out there to the masses out there in my chat. But let me know if you guys can hear me or not, because I'd like to know if I'm audible or not. Let's go ahead and double check my mic. It says my Rodecaster's working. We'll see. But anyways, we're going to go into this right now as the dating market is collapsing as we speak. That's due to feminism. And if the dating market collapses, guess what else is going to follow suit? Birth rates, marriages, everything else, because people would like to date before they get married, right? And if the dating market is wrecked and horrible and horrid, we're going to have problems leading to marriage if nobody could date, because people just don't pop up and get married. They date beforehand. On the Horse of Series, we're going to be talking about all of this in lieu of things that are happening right now. The problem happening right now, we're going to go ahead and discuss a lot, right? This isn't just a problem that just arose overnight. This took time. We're going to go into this as I detail all the horrific things that we're going to uncover when it comes to feminism. We've heard Rachel Wilson talk about this. We've heard a lot of other content creators talk about this. Now, granted, there's very few men talking about all this stuff. Very few men talking about this stuff. The reason why is because we figure feminism is going to be a female issue. That's something that the women are going to take. No, the men need to speak up on this because, you know, as much as Red Pill likes to talk about how the dating market is wrecked, more men need to get up and talk about this. We're going to present some videos today, and we're going to scour through the content I have and unearth the ugly, not the origins, well, some part of the origins. We're going to unearth some of the words from Margaret Sanger herself, amongst other people, when it comes to population decline. All of this is leading to a human extinction event, and yeah, it's horrendous. Like I said in the intro, Japan, Singapore, Western countries, modern civilization is falling. All this is horrendous. This is not something that we need. Let's go ahead and start the content right now.
Or birth decline.
It is shockingly bad. So we are now at 1.6 per woman. Our
children based on tax credits or subsidies. Children are an expression of something deeper. I mean, yes, children can certainly be expensive, but a quick look at demographics and we see that it's not like rich.
All right, let me go ahead and bring it back to the beginning because somehow this fast forwarded. Let's go ahead and bring this back.
How bad is our birth decline?
It is shockingly bad. So we are now at 1.6 per woman. Our replacement rate is 2.1.
Wow.
It is going to be a shock, a huge shock, when our generation ages and there's no one there to do important services. This is how civilizations die. Like, who takes care of boomers when they're in their 80s and 90s? If you do not have a generation of workers, society starts crumbling. I'm a firm believer that the most important institution, the family. The family used to exist to take care of the people who were weakest. Now the state has to take care of them, which is why you see a lot of these people on the street. Oh, well, we went from 2.1 to 1.6. That can't be that bad. I mean, in a couple generations, that means that our population has shrunk by half.
In a couple of
People hand wave this off as if it's nothing. They'll say, well, it doesn't matter. I don't care about anybody else but me. This really selfish attitude they have when they hand wave this away and say, you know what? Other people can have kids, but I'm not going to do this because I'm going to live my life and have fun. What she's talking about is us not even having an infrastructure because there's going to be nobody to build it or maintain it in the future. This is very horrendous. And also birth control has led to this decline as well, too. Let's continue.
Escape painful emotions, in Elaine's case from divorce and poverty. Then she couldn't stop.
It consumed my every thought. It dictated my every action.
Here in rural America, many opioid addictions begin rather innocently, starting with an injury from a car crash or an on-the-job accident where painkillers are prescribed.
Lynn Eldridge has treated addicts in rural West Virginia for more than.
And this is the thing, though, I wanted to talk about. Women are in more drugs than ever before. There are more women smokers, more weed smokers, more cigarette smokers, more women on painkillers, and more women on barbiturates and everything else and psych meds more than every generation that has preceded us before. Meaning they're looking for escapism. And what's the ultimate form of escapism for feminism? Not having to look after kids and children. You have all the time and the selfish means of the world to look after yourself. Meanwhile, you're not propagating the next generation that we have before us.
20 years. She says opioid abuse has exploded like nothing she's ever seen.
They may get hurt. They are put on a pain pill. It's OxyContin or it's hydrocodone, whatever it might be. And
Rose, a report.
Good to see you, Relentless, and good to see you, John Mondragon, in the chat as well, too.
30% among middle-aged white females living in rural areas. Elaine Vance grew up in a small coal mining town. She almost became one of those statistics.
I remember doing the first time I ever done heroin. I remember thinking it dictated me.
and best, it's a
Let me go ahead and skip because I don't think I can use that word on my channel, the H word that she just used right now. So let me skip all that.
game-changing medication is Vivitrol. It's an injection that is received in the doctor's office.
What was fighting for equal?
That share their stories, give hope to the others.
So while substance abuse.
What was fighting for equal?
So the whole point was to show that substance abuse has increased dramatically amongst the female population as they vie for more escapism. And like I said, one form of escapism is not having any children. Believe it or not, that is a form of escapism by saying I can put it off till later because I can club and party now. I'll worry about having kids later. Believe it or not, in the dating market, there are literally men out there that I talk to that say that women tell them this. Matter of fact, let me bring myself full screen real quick. Women will literally tell guys on the dating market, they'll say, oh, yeah, and this woman has told me this, and this is an anecdote, but I've heard the similar statement made by other men too. They will tell men on the dating market, they'll say things like, which I'll tell you, paraphrasing right now, what this woman told me on the dating market. It's like last month, Marte, you'd be a great husband. Damn, you got everything that I want. You're amazing. You're intelligent. Maybe some people in the chat don't think I'm intelligent, but she sure did. She was like, you're well-spoken, you got work, you have schooling, you have all this ahead of you, and you have a great foundation. So I said, what's the problem then? Well, I got a whole lot of living I got to do first. You know, I got to travel first before all this. You mean you got to get ran through a little bit before you come down and just marry somebody? No, quit playing. That's not what I'm talking about. I just have to live my life. Well, what does that mean? Well, you know, it's like I don't want to be locked down. Oh, so you look at marriage as being locked down. Oh, you know what? Fine. You don't need to say anymore. I get it. Bon voyage, have fun. This is the message that's reiterated in the dating market. If you have all the tools and prerequisites and requirements to be a husband, a lot of men that I know are being told the same song and dance. This isn't a one-off. This happens often. And guess what's happening? These women are delaying marriage. They're delaying birthing years off till later. And what happens? They cry old into pillows with cats around them as their new kids. This is the replacement rate that we're having, is the new kittens and animals and dogs and all this. That's why you see women walking to the store with this little poodle dog inside a stroller. Whenever you see this epidemic, like, that's when the delusion is taking over America, because we're starting to see more of that. Let's continue with this video real quick.
Opportunity for women in education and the workforce. The sexual revolution was fighting for all sorts of sexual freedoms. Cosmo, we pretended that this sexual revolution was a freedom for women. It actually was not. It was actually kind of a slavery. But we pretended it was freedom for women. And over time, as the sexual revolution and the women's movement got identified closer and closer together, a lot of women began to buy into that illusion.
All right, I got to put myself full screen again, too. I was talking with a guy who is well off. This guy makes a shit ton of money, and he works with a lot of people that employ OnlyFans models. I'm being honest with you right now. This is a very personal story I'm going to tell you. This conversation I had with somebody who's very affluent. He told me this, and this can be insider news for you guys. This is the advent of feminism and a result of feminism as well, too. Now in this new age of cyber corn that we have with OnlyFans and everything else. I said, well, only less than 2% of people are making enough money to become millionaires on OnlyFans. He said, but that's what they want you to think. Then I talked to him a little bit more. You know what this guy told me? We'll just call him Mike. What Mike told me, who's well off, who has a damn Lambo, and me and another friend had coffee. Mike pulled up, and I said, oh, here goes Mike showing off again. Anyways, pulled up, and we had this conversation about it. He told me he's not into degeneracy and stuff. He just knows a lot of people in the big tech. These people in OnlyFans that do make millions of dollars, they're banging the people that own OnlyFans and the people that have a stake in the game. They're literally having sex with these people. The less than 2%, they're banging those people. These people have access to them because they've never seen life before. They just turned 18. They haven't gotten a dose of reality yet because all they're seeing is money, and they're becoming millionaires. Less than 2% of the population on OnlyFans, by the way. They're banging the owners. He told me this, and he gave me names and showed me like the receipts and stuff. And I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm just like, oh, okay. So the sexual revolution helped women out, but it helped them to be subverted by a different message and under the authority of a man in a different way, i.e. the billionaires, the J, the guy that owns it, the J, whatever his name, that passed away. Whoever these new owners are, whoever's owning it now, the people that got their hands in this are banging the women at the top that make all this money on OF because they're spending nights with these people. That's the insider information I'm telling you right now. This is what feminism has given them for their empowerment. For me to be on a plantation and having to bang this mistress that I have and then to go back on the fields and work again, I have no dignity left over. Can't even have a family because if I procreate, my kids are going to be like, oh, we saw your mom banging 3 dudes on this cam, whatever this is. And you can't outlive that. That's crazy. The internet lives forever in this day and age, and you can't undownload things. So anyways, let's continue on with this podcast.
Sexual revolution was the final chapter, I think, in the devastation that feminism visited upon women. The mistaken approach, and I think probably innocently, was that men had all the power, therefore we want power as women, therefore we should be more like men. It has devastated women.
I think a lot of what feminism sought to do was very appropriate and had a place.
Yes, but the result of becoming more like men instead of championing the natural desires of most women and building up families.
Listen, I'm going to say this right now. Sorry, I got to go full screen again and say this real quick. So I hear oftentimes there will be get my mic back up. My mic likes to kind of dip out on me sometimes. I hear guys say this all the time, and this will be actual men saying this BS, this bullshit. They'll say, well, first wave feminism wasn't that bad. It was for freedom and this and that. And then second wave, this. And then we started getting more radical with third wave and all this. You know what? I'll give you a good comparison. I'm going to say it like this. This is how it sounds coming from them. Well, first stage cancer wasn't that bad. Then second stage, it wasn't. Started getting a little rambunctious, but then third stage cancer happened. And then, it was going to become more malignant and things were going to be bad, and then you don't want fifth stage cancer because that means you're on your death. These are all stages of cancer. Like, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about actual stages of cancer. This isn't like first wave feminism, second wave. No, first wave cancer, second wave cancer, third stage, we're getting chemotherapy, fifth stage, yep, no more society. And then you have no more population as the birth rates continue to plummet. No matter what we're talking about, you're all talking about a different stage of cancer that we're talking about. This isn't like, first stage that came out, first wave, like as if it's a good thing. None of this has been bad. Women were more protected prior to feminism than after feminism. Remember what I told you about all these OnlyFans workers? The 2% are banging the owners. Banging the people that got their hands in the OnlyFans pot. They're banging the owners to secure this check as well, too. Spending nights, date nights with the owners of OnlyFans. Well, what I'm talking about when I say owners, the investors. I saw the receipts myself when I had dinner. Well, not dinner. I had coffee with my boy Mike, and he told me all this. This is insane. So the delusional part is less than 2% are making millions. The rest of them, maybe $250 a month at max to ruin your reputation, have life ruination. You can't get a job as a teacher, officer. You can't run in politics. You shouldn't be in politics anyways if you're a woman, just my opinion, amongst other things as well, too. This ruins everything. Your social credit is done when it comes to this. Anyways, let me bring this back up.
It has been utterly devastating to women because men and women do not traffic in the same spirit-filling ways.
Actually, the research is on your side there as well. We know
women are not happy.
And, overwhelmingly in Western countries, they indicate that given the choice.
Yeah, we have a happiness paradox right now that's going on right now. It's paradoxical. It's crazy because think about it like this. You have a wife. Let's just imagine you have a wife and you give your wife every single thing she wants. You never tell her no. I want a Lamborghini today. You know what? I want a Range Rover. And you have infinite dollars. You give her everything she wants. Pretty soon she's going to look in her closet and she's going to have 1,000 wardrobes. And she's going to tell you, I know I have everything, but I have nothing to wear. That's the paradox of happiness that you're going to meet. And this is something that this is with anybody. If you give everybody everything that they want, they're actually going to become less happy and have less decisions and become less capable of making decisions on their own, thus becoming unhappy because they're devoid of strife in their life or any challenges or being told no. You're creating the very spoiled brat monster that you created. This is the happiness paradox we've created with feminism. And that's what she's describing as well here.
Right.
They'd skew back more toward
family and relationship.
We know that again from the research. You can't get away from it. It's undeniable.
That's right. That's right. And so the free sex, more often associated with the way that men would behave.
Yeah, all the free sex thing is just enabling men to just do what they do. Like, that's what I'm saying. So I've been cheated on in the past by women, right? I've never been mad at the other dude. I've been mad at the woman. Probably more disappointed in myself because I didn't spot the red flags and things that have happened. And the reason why I'd never been mad at the other guy, well, he's supposed to test your relationship. The wolf outside your door is supposed to test the locks on your door to see if he can come in. Now, if he comes in, that's the failure of the woman that you're with or yourself, not him. That's why I don't get mad. That's why I trip whenever I see these Maury episodes of people. They want to attack the person cheated with. Well, that doesn't make sense. While the woman that cheated on both of you guys is sitting there not taking any of the heat. That never made sense to me.
Has been nothing but ruinous to what women need and what women are more drawn to be fulfilled as human beings. It's surely given men lots of recreational enjoyment.
Yeah, all you're going to do is just give men more sex that they don't have to work for. And before you say, well, no, it's giving a lot of women a lot of free enterprise and entrepreneurs as OnlyFans workers and things like that. How hard is it to work for $5? If you're only worth $5 and that's all I have to do, why would I have to go ahead and run out and get a wife and put in the work as a husband and lay the groundwork during dating and do all this when I can just pay $5.99 to go see your butthole online? Yeah, that sounds like a new form of slavery on a different plantation that you're beholden to. To me, this doesn't make any sense. You're weakening society as a whole, crippling everything. This is just pure degenerate garbage that we've allowed. Like, we're creating women that are less marriageable in return for giving men all the sex that they can have at what? The value of $5.99? Shit, fast food costs more than these women's buttholes. That's crazy.
But it's really cost us women one
What's
another.
up, best-selling dreamer?
If one woman
Good to
is
see you,
not going
Jack.
to give it up, well, there's another one coming right down the street. Our value has plummeted because of the sexual revolution.
Yeah, your value has plummeted through the basement. Hell, what does ran through mean? Ran through can mean various things. Somebody could say, well, just because she hasn't had sex doesn't mean she's not ran through. Well, if her social credit score amongst your boys, because everybody else is seeing her butthole, that's the equivalent of being ran through, because it's like, damn, what's special for me anymore? If I'm eating a sandwich and I'm bragging about this sandwich, yet 100 guys drop that sandwich on the floor, but I get to eat it and brag that I get to finish the sandwich. It's had ants all over it. What's so special about this sandwich? It's been taken out of the wrapper. It had 100 hands on this, and I'm going to eat this sandwich because I'm hungry. I'm paraphrasing here, that hungry is horny, right? We have to really think about these things. Like, you're still ran through if your social credit score in regards to the dating criteria and landscape is diminished because everybody's seen your butthole for $5.99. It's insane. Their value's lowering substantially. Like, do they even have virgins anymore? Like, that's an unreasonable thing to ask for nowadays, when 50 years ago it would have been like, oh, a realistic goal. Now, good luck, bro. You got 4 bodies. That's today's virgin now. 4 bodies.
And I think it's left many women.
Hank says they don't really understand how markets work. No, they don't. That's why these women, in their entrepreneurial spirit, they'll go ahead and spend their vagina online, as it were, in videos, photos, toys, and even BG action online. And then when they get a little bit older and they want to find that romantic person and find a marriage and kids, shit, somebody's turning 18 every single day. You know what? You're in a competitive market that will never die. Meanwhile, you can put off your family and kids and everything else like this. As the population plummets and declines, yeah, the world just passed you by and you're going to get a new cat. Tragic. Crazy. Just insane. Hey, what's up, Locked About here? Good to see you in the chat. Modern women treated their organs the same way U.S. government treated the dog. Yes. And that's the crazy part. So Locke brings up a good statement here. It is true. Women will spend this on everything else. By the time it comes around, it's meaningless. All the value has been stripped out of this. Meaning, like, okay, maybe it means a lot to the simper on the corner, to somebody else who doesn't know her history. But as soon as he finds out, what's so special about the sandwich, like I said in my metaphor, that's been dropped 100 times? Yeah, you get to eat this, but everybody else has handled the sandwich. It's been out of the wrapper. I mean, you think about the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, manages what goes in foods and try to make sure it's pure, make sure that they're not giving bad business deals in regards to food and drugs. Well, there's no FDA on poussoir, is there? There isn't one. Meanwhile, women are mismanaging their poussoir on the market. Next thing you know, you get something with salmonella. And you have to go to a clinic because you ate the wrong sandwich. That's what's happening now. This is just insane. The modern market in dating is crashing fast.
Feeling very hollow and empty, and it has allowed men to step away from their responsibility to women.
Actually, in a way, the research tells us something else. It's created.
Hey, what's up from Bumbly? I never get notified that you go live. Realized I never clicked that bell and hit all. Yeah, no, I got some crazy content in store for you guys. So I got another junk food episode. We're going to invite Jake Varr on Thursday, and Cool Vic, actually. I got a doozy of an episode for you guys on Thursday. Yeah, it's going to become rambunctious and crazy, so stay tuned. It's going to get crazy. And also, I have a panel discussion tomorrow talking about us needing to pull out of Israel and us not to kind of help them, back them. I don't know where you guys stand on this issue, but I also have a debate coming up on that to where I think that we should not be allies in regard to helping them out financially. We should let the sand people fight it out themselves. Anyways, I digress from the whole thing. Let me get back on this topic right now.
A playground for some men and an enormous amount of emptiness for others who are not, according to the fads of the day, desirable.
Yeah, Locke the Bounty Hunter. You know what's crazy? Ladies and gentlemen, Locke is a new member to the channel. I don't know if he got a membership or not, but he's a sub. I talked to the guy, and the guy has a great speaking voice, meaning like if I had his voice, I'd probably have 100,000 subs in like 6 months. Usually people have these voices. Locke the Bounty Hunter has definitely got one of those voices for radio. I don't know if he's got a face for radio, but definitely a voice for radio. Says YouTube's been pulling shenanigans. Check your subs and notifications. Yes, there has been a demonetization wave that has been happening. I've been looking at channels, and that's been the rave on the town now. All these channels talking about they've been demonetized, things like this, for the most frivolous things, the craziest things. So you constantly have to check the criteria of TOS. It's just crazy. YouTube is kind of bipolar. I hear somebody utter a word that would demonetize and TOS the whole channel, and they use it. Nothing happens to them. Somebody merely utters a word around that, they get demonetized. So I don't know how the weather is on YouTube as far as like if it's going to be thundering one day or not. So I act as if I'm going to be demonetized any day now. In a way where it's like I have to watch my back on you. It's crazy. The YouTube Gestapo is wild here. Anyways, let's continue.
And the dropout rate amongst young men is something else that the data, it should be really worrying us. No one's talking about it.
They're one of them lady killer voices. Yeah, Locke's got one of those voices where it's like, you know how you hear an advertisement and you're like, yeah, that's the voice I need to sell this new laminator I have or something. As soon as that person talks about it, he's going to make it sound exciting and compelling, and it's going to fly off the shit. Locke's got one of those voices. So I need to trade voices with Locke. Locke, I promise I'll give you this voice back to you next week if I borrow it for 1 week. I just want to test it out if that was possible. Anyways, let's continue.
Well, and you know, you can look at the different waves of feminism. The first wave, I think, wanted equality, but did not.
Remember what I talked about the waves of feminism? They're like stages of cancer. First stage cancer, still bad. Fourth wave, still bad. You need chemo, everything. Fifth wave, the Grim Reaper is at your door, all bad. That's what fifth wave feminism is. You don't want first wave, first stage, anything that's cancerous. That's all this is a stage of cancer when they talk about the waves. I don't care how much people promote first wave feminism. It's like the same thing as promoting first stage cancer. It's all cancer, dude, and it's all bad.
Not say that equality meant sameness, right? But it was the second wave that emerged during the sexual revolution that said you're not really equal unless you're the same, unless you want the same thing that men want.
Locke, I'm black, so my credit score is like a lowly 57. So I'll give you a black culture IOU in the form of like in the form of an EBT check. Hopefully that'll work, even though EBT checks don't exist. But trust me, bro.
In terms of their career and their family and their sexual appetites. And so that is where feminism began to pit women against their own bodies, right? It was a rejection of the female self. And that bound up in the sexual revolution. And I think men and women have both been victimized by that, but your own choice. It's when you victimize children because you're rejecting reality. You know, that's where I'm willing to stand up and say, not on my watch, right? Whatever ideas you have about your own personal liberation, it can't be at the expense of children's fundamental rights and thriving.
You know what? I wish I was a part of this discussion, because I tell this lady with gray hair, do you have any children at all? Not saying it's a too cool quay fallacy or anything like that, because it's like too cool quay is like, but what about you? I want to ask her if she's contributed to against this revolution of sex that's prohibiting children from being born. Because here's the thing, though. We can watch porn all day long and bust, and I'm just going to speak graphically. I don't care. It's late night. We can bust all the nuts that we want to and do all the coon degenerate shit we want to. But all those nuts are supposed to be going into procreating children at some point. That's what the design of the human body is for. Meanwhile, somebody in the chat had mentioned napkins. What if this semen goes into a napkin, gets thrown out? Well, that's one more population decline that we have too. Think about it like that. So the population decline is also, I mean, at the behest of porn as well too, or corn. I got to say corn. Damn it. The TOS thing is going to get me. It's at the behest of corn as well too, because think about it. All the sex that you're having, if you're at night, gentlemen, it's late at night and you're feeling lonely and you're in your bed, you grab the lotion, you want to get your hand pregnant. Well, you're not impregnating a woman, right? You're going to have all the schmortions in your right hand, and then you're going to have to clean it up or wipe it off. Yeah, you're not procreating at all. All you're doing is creating asexual behavior in your bed. But this is what women are producing. They're killing us. Women are literally killing our potential. This is what's happening right now. This is societal wide.
But that's really where that I think is the greatest fallout of the sexual revolution, is that it's kids who are losing out.
Surely the abortion that needs to play a part of that revolution.
Damn it. You know what? I got to say this too. I'm upset. I'm going to be a hater against Locke the Bounty Hunter. Not only does the guy have a great voice, but he has to have the John Wick PFP too. How dare you, bro? You know, some of us have ladies. We're trying to save some ladies for the rest of us. I was going to let you know right now, like there needs to be a sparse amount for the rest of us, because if so, you're creating the population to decline too by hogging all the women. Anyways, I digress.
Because men and women are obviously saddled quite differently with the results of the sexual act. And if we need to be more like men, then we need to not be bound by the consequences of that act. Therefore, abort the babies.
I think that honestly, in the
You know what's crazy? And that's like, a lot of my exes are redheads. I used to say this thing, and this sounds going to sound so degenerate. I used to say, if the roof is rusted, the basement's flooded. All right. Anyways, let me stop. That was the most degen thing I've ever said. Anyways, that was back in my mega degen days. Let me continue.
United States, most conservatives, most Christians are very familiar with children's right to life, and that is their primary right. And we recognized early on that adult sexual decisions were easily infringing on that right. But it is true that you have to have access to abortion if adult sexual expressionism and adult desire is God. If that is the greatest good in society, then of course children will have to pay the price for their life.
Think about it. I mean, he's right about this. Locke the Bounty Hunter says feminism established a social economy based on pure misery. Yes, because if you are going to a cold bed at night and you don't have anything to look forward to, i.e. family, children, or a man that's consistently at your bedside manner, yeah, that's all misery, because all you're going to be doing is replacing batteries. I mean, batteries that get cold at night, they don't stay hot because they turn off at a certain period of time. And think about it right now. We're going to go into this topic big time. So, yes, I am going to sound like I'm attacking the LGBT community, because they are adding to the birth rate reduction as well, too. Lesbian relationships do not contribute to society at all. Matter of fact, everything that a lesbian relationship has, you have to outsource. Think about it. Somebody breaks in your house and you're a lesbian relationship, you have to get a gun, a gun. You have to get a pew-pew, right? Because there's no man to physically protect you. Meanwhile, women get disarmed 65% of the time. Men only 11% of the time with the pew-pew. So you have to outsource protection. Oh, I want a baby. Oh, you have to go to the sperm clinic and get a donor or get an adoption. So you have to outsource reproduction. And then when it comes to sex and having to have this whole reproduction action with your missus and scissor her all night, well, you got to outsource the batteries because they die too. You got to outsource the dildo because she doesn't have a phallic object according to, like, we're talking about biology. Everything in a lesbian relationship has to be outsourced. Protection, security, everything. And I guarantee you, they're all working for a man regardless. Some man owns the company that some lesbian works for, unless she's independently owned and operated. Guarantee you her customers are men too, that are buying whatever product that she works for, whether or not it's some salon or something like that, some gay man. Anyways, everything in those relationships has to be outsourced, and they're not contributing to the population. That's one womb that isn't going to be occupied by a baby. And even if it is, Lord help the baby that grows up in a lesbian relationship, which has the highest divorce rates and highest abuse of all. Big time. You can look up the stats on this. I know I get demonized all the time. It's just insane. The DV rates are sky high in lesbian relationships. It's just bad, man. It's just horrendous. It just shows how benevolent men are when men that like to sword fight have less DV in their relationship than the women who have scissor fights, right? Think about this. So the less women you take away from the equation, the more peace you have. Crazy how this works.
Life. And many of us have just discovered, you know what? We have to stand against that because children are dying. And what we're doing at Them Before Us is, if that was children's rights 1.0, right? Kids should not die for your sexual decisions.
Right.
This is children's rights 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? Their thriving should not be sacrificed because of your sexual decisions. So we are all in on the children's rights 1.0, protecting children's right to life. But thank God there are hundreds of organizations that are battling.
Well, Hank Panther, I'll push back a little bit. There is somebody in charge, but it's like a pseudo. It's very illusory, because if you ever have two women together that are lesbian, you ever notice this? There's always a more masculine one and a feminine one. How come whenever I see lesbians, there's not two feminine one? I'll wait if anybody else can correct me on this. Whenever I see two women together, they're never both feminine. There's always one that's masculine, one that's feminine. So what they're doing is they're creating a pseudo hierarchy of something that doesn't exist, but they're trying to make it happen. How illusory is this? Yet if I wake up and my wife, because we want to have this egalitarian society, I wake up and say, honey, you go check on the intruder because I did it last month. You know, remember, we're equal here, right? I.e. lesbian relationship. All you're going to do is have resentment in that relationship because no hierarchical order exists. And no women want to serve and protect for some reason. Ain't that weird how that happened? Feminism has given them nothing and no duties, no honor, and no hierarchical order in their relationships either.
To protect that fundamental right. Right now, Them Before Us is the only nonprofit solely devoted to defending children's rights on this side of the womb, their right to their own mother and father. But both of those rights are in jeopardy when you are governed by the principles of the sexual revolution.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're governed by the rules of the sexual revolution, i.e. I am just a piece of meat to whoever guy gets passed down. That's empowerment, baby. We have to lower the dollar value of the poussoir that gets passed around. Insane, diabolical work here. Thank you, feminism, for this diabolical work that has wrecked the dating market.
And now to our story.
Oh, here we go. Okay, the woman of the hour. Let me go ahead and preface this real quick. What we're about to listen to right now is, and I might skim through this because this is going to be horrendous, Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger herself, by the way.
The first birth control clinic in the United States back in 1916. Birth control was a dirty word. The police threw her into jail as they were to do 7 more.
That's crazy how birth control was a dirty word at one point in history. That's wild. Now it's like normative. It's like, oh, if you want good hair and you want acne gone, birth control. Birth control is like a one fix all for everything. It used to be like, oh, birth control. Oh, God, hushed conversations that we're going to have. We can't talk about birth control. Just that's what he's talking about. I wish we can go back to those eras because birth control has literally been shit all to women's bodies now to where it's wrecked their bodies for the rest of their life.
Times during her crusade, a crusade that still faces the reasoning but unalterable opposition of the Roman Catholic Church. That crusade kept Mrs. Sanger away from her children for long periods. It helped to break up her first marriage, and she suffered constant, harrowing social abuse. Mrs. Sanger, in view of all of that,
Oh, poor Margaret Sanger, the person that she said she wanted to rid the black populace of the earth, like of the United States and every industrial arena that we have, whether or not it's Western or Eastern civilization. She practiced this and produced content about this insane rhetoric here. Margaret Sanger, ladies and gentlemen, in the flesh, as we listen to her right now in her diatribe, which is crazy. The round of applause is because they're wearing black like Grim Reapers here, and that's what she represents, nothing but death of children and infants.
Let me ask you this first of all. Why did you do it? I realize that you had an intellectual conviction that birth control was a boon to mankind, but I'm sure that others have that conviction too. And so what I'd like to know is this. What events, what emotions in your life made Margaret Sanger a crusader for birth control?
Well, Mr. Wallace, it's hard to say that any one thing has made one do this or that. I think from the very beginning, I came with a large family. My mother died young, 11 children. That made an impression on me as a child. I was a trained nurse, went among the people. I saw women who asked to have some means whereby they wouldn't have to have another pregnancy too early after the last child, the last abortion, which many of them had. So there's a number of things that are one after the other that really made you feel that you had to do something.
There are some other possible reasons that suggest themselves on reading your biography.
It's very funny and ironic that her mother had 11 children and died early, she said. And I'm just like, so you're going to promote the antithesis of what you came from? Wild work here, by the way.
Lawrence, later, your mother, as you say, died prematurely after bearing 11 children. She was born a Catholic, was she not?
She was born a Catholic, yes.
Yeah, I kind of almost want to ask what went wrong. You're Catholic. You're not exactly Orthodox. You're leaning Christian. 11 children. I would say your mother's very based. She went out like a like a boss, like the bosses that we want to see of the kitchen, of the house, people that are, raising children, things like those are the heroines we need, the matrons we need for society. But I boggles my mind with where she went wrong at.
And your father was a sort of a village atheist who clashed with church authorities. And because of his atheism, his earnings dwindled under community.
There we go. There's the atheism. There, I found it.
Pressure. You and your brothers and sisters were known as, quote, children of the devil, end quote. Could it be then that in part at least you were driven emotionally toward the birth control movement because of antagonism toward the church, because that was a way to fight the church?
No, I don't think I had anything of the kind in mind.
Lies. He called her out in this bullshit. It was like, oh, because you're fighting against the church, meaning, okay, so maybe this was a satanic agenda.
I was what I would call a born humanitarian.
Wait, hold on. She's a humanitarian, yet she talked about eugenics towards black people and more. How is that humanitarian like?
I like to see people suffer. I don't like to see cruelty.
Wait, hold on. We're talking about deleting babies in the womb and Planned Parenthood, and you like to see people suffer? Oh, Lord have mercy. This is insane.
Even to this day. And in nursing, you see a great deal of cruelty and unnecessary suffering. At that time, there was no opposition as far as the church was concerned. Any church. It was mainly the law, the federal law, and state laws that one had to think of. The church was not in my mind at all.
Well, in going after your motive, then, and I will press you just a little bit more about that and then get to the specifics of this evening, but in your motive, in the movement, is it possible that the movement itself, the feeling of wanting to do anything that you felt was important, that perhaps that moved you a good deal? Because the fact remains that you led a movement against overwhelming pressures that stemmed back for centuries. And in doing so, according to your autobiography, you even left your first husband. And you wrote this to a friend, Mrs. Sanger.
Damn, leaving husbands in her wake too? Crazy.
You said, where is the man to give me what the movement gives in joy and interest and freedom? Now, what was this joy, this freedom that you craved?
Well, I don't remember that letter, who it was written, but I think that it was not a question of marriage at all. There was a certain satisfaction in doing something that was going to alleviate the sufferings of women in particular, and I was quite a feminist at the time.
Oh, you were quite the feminist at the time? You mean you're still not one? Oh, man. I can't believe I'm hearing some of this.
And yes, and I naturally didn't want to see women take all the suffering of childbearing and of pregnancies. So it was a pleasure, in a sense, I think, that you were striking at an archaic law, which it was. It's put it on the statute books by Anthony Comstock some years ago, and no one had stood up against it. No one had tried to change the laws. And at that time, not even a doctor had a right to use the United States mails and common carriers for books, for learning, for anything that he had to do with this question. It was considered obscene. The whole question was considered obscene.
Good. We need social shame. And for some reason, she tried to undo social shame. And look where we're at right now. Population decline.
Mrs. Sanger, you have helped to spread the birth control movement not only here in the United States, but in Europe and the Orient as well. Why? Why is birth control of such vital importance internationally? Is it just to save women suffering? Is that the only reason in your mind?
Well, not entirely. The population question is a great concern today, and the rate at which the births come in to we're saving them now. At one time, when children died, they didn't have the food. Today, our population all over the world is getting certainly better consideration and better conditions than they had at the time that I was there. I went to every country because I was invited. And I didn't go into the country myself. I was invited to go to Japan and to speak there, to have 8 lectures on the question of birth control and peace.
Well, do you believe that birth control is essential if we want to keep millions of people across the world from starving? Is that your thesis?
Say it again.
Do you feel that birth control is essential to keep millions of people across the world from starving?
Well, I think that birth control, if you keep your population more or less static until you pick up your resources, certainly you'll keep
Yes, we do need to bring back the virtue of shame. I think this is extremely important, but we fell out of this has fallen out of society. It's gone the other way. Now we're shaming women who want to become mothers. Now we're shaming women who want to become good wives. That's what society's doing. It's actually flipped, and the pendulum has swung so far over to where all the things that were good are now the things that we're shaming, and all the bad things are now promoted. Oh, you should be able to do like men do and just run through all these people. You're not considered ran through a girl. Have the baby later. You can wait, and all this. It's just really bad, man. It's really bad rhetoric. We don't need any of this in society. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and bring this up on the screen. It's very important that I go ahead and show you guys this right now. And this is wild. This was like a new update. I think it was a new development. This came out this year, I think, or maybe this month. Let's go ahead and bring this up real quick. Let me take this off. Add this to the stage right now. This is wild right here. Chinese biologist Hongmei Wang seeks to extend women's fertile life by making menstruation occur every 3 months, which would theoretically preserve more eggs and extend the fertile period. This is insane. Somebody said, give her all the funding. Imagine just 4 cycles a year. They're trying to push back fertility in the woman's biological clock to be slowed down. This is crazy. This is just Frankenstein work. Frankenstein work that they're trying to do right now. Insane. Matter of fact, I don't know what they're trying to do, but by the time that they're done, I don't even think we're going to have women's bodies anymore, because LGBTQ has infiltrated the movement so much. And now we got a woman trying to delay off 4 menstrual cycles a year to try to make it to where we can push back fertility years. Insane. Women just want to live their life as much as they can and put off kids so they can be way ran through by the time they become a wife. Is insane. It's really crazy work.
Picking up the resources.
Well, picking up the resources, there's just a limit to that, too. There's just so much. Take Japan. And she cannot feed. They've had the best experts come there when MacArthur was there. And the best experts say that they have 20 million more people than they can feed. She's got to be fed outside, and in some way, she's got to have that kind of help if she's going to keep from fighting.
But certainly around the world, there is potential agricultural land that is not being properly used now. Just this past year, on May 20th.
Yeah, it's a good point. Locke Hunter says, wouldn't that mean a woman's body will be weaker when trying to bear a child? Yes. I think that in your earlier years, you're stronger, your hips, everything else is good. The mortality rate decreases. I would say within those years of youth, like maybe like 21, 25, things like that, those years to having births. But the older you get, like 35 being a geriatric pregnancy, the risks go up, complications goes up, mortality goes up, all this goes up. So you're definitely right about that. It's just insane. They're trying to delay this. I don't know. It's just really bad. The body isn't designed to do this, but yet they're trying to change up innovation towards like the biological realm. That doesn't make any sense at all to me, but they're trying to make sense of it somehow. Anyways.
21st, the New York Times summarized an important study of the world's food resources made by Professor James Bonner of the California Institute of Technology. Professor Bonner says the world is not using 1 billion acres of potential agricultural land, and he adds that if this land were used and present agricultural land were improved, the entire world could be fed adequately, even if the population increased by 1/3 in the next 50 years.
Oh, Mr. Wallace, you hear so many. Oh, Mr. Wallace, you hear so many fantastic things of what can happen, what may happen. This and that, I've heard it for the last 30 years anyway, to what could be done, but it's never done. And the thing is, what is it now? What have we got today? A very distinguished woman spoke to me about Arizona. And she said, I wish you wouldn't talk about population. She said, all the population of the United States could be put in one state. And I said, what state? She said, Arizona. I said, did you ever hear of caliche? She didn't know that I was talking about a delicatessen or what. I said, well, caliche is harder than any rock. And it is about 3 inches below the ground, where it looks beautiful. It looks as if you could have food, it looks as if you could have corn or wheat or cotton. But as a matter of fact, you have to dynamite caliche out of the ground in order to have a little shrub, have a little grass or a few flowers. So there are many problems that when it comes to that. And the demographers, I never heard of anyone that would agree with that we could have another in the world. Another third.
Well, you say that originally the opposition was in all law, and you have to fight against that. Today, your opposition stems mainly from where? From what source?
Well, I think that the opposition is...
By the way, if you're just tuning in, we're listening to an interview with Margaret Sanger. If you don't know who she is the person who was... Racists love this woman for very obvious reasons, but also Planned Parenthood, you can thank her for that.
Mainly from the hierarchy of the Roman Catholic Church.
Of the church. Well, now
hierarchy.
Of the hierarchy of the church. You feel that the parishioners themselves, the lay people in the church, are not against birth control?
I feel they come to all of our clinics just the same as the non-Catholics do. Exactly the same.
Well, let's look at the official Catholic position. Opposition to birth control. I read now from a church publication called The Question Box. In forbidding birth control, it says the following. It says, the immediate purpose and primary end of marriage is the begetting of children. When the marital relation is so used as to render the fulfillment of its purposes impossible, that is by birth control, it is used unethically and unnaturally. Now, what's wrong with that position?
Yeah, that's what the Catholic Church says. It's unethical and it's unnatural because you're going against the body's own proclivity. I'm dying to hear her response.
Well, it's very wrong. It's not normal. It's not, it has the wrong attitude toward marriage, toward love, toward the relationships between men and women.
Well, the natural law, they say, is that, first of all, the primary function of sex in marriage is to beget children. Do you disagree with that?
I disagree with it 100%.
Damn, she disagrees with that? Go figure. The primary purpose of marriage is to have sex and have children. She says, I disagree with that. Oh boy, we're in for a rough one, ladies and gentlemen.
Your feeling is what then?
My feeling is that love and the attraction between men and women, in many cases the very finest relationship, has nothing to do with bearing a child. It's secondary. Many, many times we know that. You see your birth rate, you talk to people who have very happy marriages and they're not having babies every year. Yes, I think that's a celibate attitude. Surely.
A celibate attitude, but you agree that Catholicism, according to the tenets of Catholicism, they rule that birth control violates not only the church's position, it isn't the church's position.
I wish, look, I'm going to say this right now. And Rachel Wilson, if you're listening right now, I'll say this. I wish you were, if we had a time machine, I would love to put you across from this woman and see this conversation go down. Like, I would love to see this conversation go down. Rachel Wilson, if you could sit in the other chair, and then I can have Margaret Singer in the other chair. So many people would tune into this podcast if Rachel Wilson was in one chair. I know I'm saying it again. And Margaret Singer was in the other chair. This would be the battle of the ages. And I would love to see Margaret Singer try to defend feminism in this whole issue with taking children off the map. Ridiculous.
But they say that it violates a natural law, as I have just explained. Therefore, birth control is a sin, no matter who practices it. Now, the violation of the natural law, according, you certainly can take no issue with the natural law as the hierarchy of the Catholic Church regards it.
Well, I certainly do take issue with it. I think it's untrue, and I think it's unnatural.
Well, let me ask you...
bears it out that it's an unnatural attitude to take, and how do they know?
It's not a natural attitude, as if the church doesn't recognize marriage as a covenant. This is insane. How does she know? She opposes the Catholicism or Christianity in any regard.
I mean, after all, they're celibates. They don't know love. They don't know marriage. They know nothing about bringing up children or any of the marriage problems of life.
What? You're saying that Christians don't know anything about bringing up children, about love, or any of this stuff? You're talking about the guy who died for everybody and didn't talk about a war. He sacrificed his life and all this. Like, there's no love in any of this. Like, there's a lot of sacrifice and all that. I'm like, that's the ultimate test of love. Instead of using anger, he went the opposite way. Like, how do we not know anything about this? Is just insane.
And yet they speak to people as if they were God.
Let me ask you this question. Suppose a healthy, a well-to-do couple decide for some reason never to have children, use birth control all their lives. Would you say that your methods are being misused, Mrs. Sanger?
Now, if they were intelligent people, and they had some reason for thinking of children as a responsibility, or some disease that they might have that they wouldn't like to pass on to a child, and I think it would be a very unselfish attitude for them to take.
Wow, that is an unselfish attitude to not have children. If you think you have a disease, we're not going to pass it on. It's good not to have children. This is how everything all started. Insanity. This is insane.
There is a disease.
No, I say a healthy, well-to-do couple. A couple that just doesn't want children, and for that reason they use birth control all the way. Well, do you think that is a misuse of your methods?
I don't think it's a misuse. I think if they're intelligent adults, but they must know what they want.
Hold on. It is not a misuse. He said they're healthy people in a marriage and they use birth control all their life and they don't want to have kids. That's not a misuse. Is crazy. And she said they're healthy and they're intelligent. How intelligent is this when you kill your bloodline? Crazy. I can't believe I'm hearing this right now. This is the first time I'm hearing this, by the way, chat. I didn't watch this before. This is the first words I'm hearing her speak this. Crazy.
They must manage their lives themselves. And certainly there's nothing birth control than there is in other things that you...
And she said it's most unselfish to think like this. Matter of fact, I think that's the most selfish to think like this.
You might deny yourself.
I've asked you your motives a little while ago at the beginning of the program, your motives in working for birth control as hard as you have for as many years as you have. You reject the principal Catholic argument against birth control as being totally invalid. What do you think is the reason, the motive of the Church in forbidding birth control?
You'd have to ask a Catholic that. I couldn't say what their motive is.
Yeah, because you don't have an answer. You don't even know the answer. You're speaking against it.
Well, you couldn't say officially what their motive is, but you certainly must have an opinion about it, Mrs. Sanger.
Well, I don't have much to do with the hierarchy. And I know that the people that come to our organization and want to have the same methods, or whatever it is that one can have to prevent a pregnancy, that those women will say to us, we ask their religion very often, and they say, I am a Catholic, I was raised in the Catholic Church, my church is wrong on this. This is the one thing. I will never be anything else, but my church is wrong on this one thing. And that is said over and over and over again. So what the motive is?
Well, you won't hazard a guess.
I don't care to. Thank you.
May I ask you why? Now, I know that in private and actually in public discussions, I think, prior to this time, you have been willing to state your understanding of what the motives of the Church are, and now you would rather remain silent. May I ask you why?
Well, simply because I don't think that the Church has changed in its attitude. Some of the hierarchy have changed that.
Why should church change? Like, that's the thing, though. It shouldn't change at all. Let's skip forward a little bit real quick. This is insane already.
You know that my reporter spent a good deal of time with you. He's a very accurate young man.
Yes.
And this is a specific quote.
Well, I don't think I said it quite that way.
What are your religious beliefs? You know that my reporter spent a good deal of time with a religious group to prohibit dissemination of birth control, even among its own members. In other words, you would like to see the government legislate religious beliefs in a certain sense.
Where these strange things come to...
Look at this cabin cruiser, and you know it's new.
All right, Chad, I kind of skipped a little bit. She's off her rocker, but let's continue.
One puff of this cigarette, and you know it's new. A man's kind...
Having marriage counseling. So when the...
The number of...
I've never smoked, but I'm going to begin to take up smoking and use Philip Morris as the cigarette for me to take.
Well, I thank you very much, Mrs. Sanger.
Indeed.
We're going to wrap that interview up and move on to the next segment real quick, because I'm tired of listening to her. This is insane.
In the eyes of some, Margaret Sanger has been a heroine. In the eyes of others, she's been a destructive force. The purpose of this interview has been not, of course, to try to resolve this issue, but to open it to a little sensible discussion. This was done with the feeling that all of us, regardless of our beliefs, can do nothing but profit from a free exchange of ideas.
Yeah, this has been a crazy exchange of ideas, especially on Margaret Sanger's
account. The U.S. fertility rate has dropped to an all-time low, according to new CDC data. Researchers say it's not a blip. It's a generation of women choosing to wait or not have children at all. Our William Brangham has more.
Yeah, waiting or not having children at all. Crazy. That's what we're having right now. This is all leading to expediting human extinction.
That's right, Jeff. This trend has been going on for a while. Since 2007, the number of Americans having babies has dropped 23%. And that means not enough kids are being born to replace older workers or those that die. If this trend continues, or unless immigration levels change, the nation will have 8 million fewer residents by 2055. But there are some nuances to these numbers. There was a 7% drop in teen pregnancies last year, which many experts say is a very good thing. So for more on what this means for current and future generations, we are joined by Brian Mann of NPR. He's been reporting a long investigative series about global population trends. Brian, welcome back to the show. The U.S. population has been on this significant downward trend for almost 2 decades. You've spent a good deal of time looking into this. What is your report?
Damn, why does this guy look like Lex Luthor, too? It's crazy.
Reporting say about...
And then the guy on the... I don't want to say who the guy on the left looks like, but anyways, let's continue.
What is driving this?
You know, there's a mix of factors, William, that are causing women and young couples to choose to have fewer children, smaller families, and in some cases, no children at all. And as you say, this is already affecting the fabric of the country. The population of the United States is aging rapidly. The growth of the population has slowed dramatically already. And as you say, later this century, the population of the United States will actually begin to shrink if we stay on this path. And that change, that shrinkage is going to come much sooner now than.
Yeah, Singapore, cooked. Japan, cooked. South Korea, cooked. The United States, slowly dwindling, beginning to cook itself right now.
Once predicted, because there are fewer and fewer babies being born, and also we've begun to squeeze immigration.
I mean, what are the implications here? I mean, I guess I'm asking, how serious is this? When does this become not just a demographic story, but something more serious?
I think many of the economists I'm talking to think this is a right now thing. This is not something where we're talking about 10 years or 20 years from now. I mean, that statistic that we cited at the top of the segment, 710,000 fewer babies every year, those are fewer children going into public schools. Those are eventually fewer workers who are going to be, turning up in the economy.
Yep.
And as the population of Americans,
less people working the infrastructure and helping out to build this economy that we have, we're going to have less people.
Age 60 and older grows rapidly. We're actually already beginning to see the population of Americans under the age of 25 begin to shrink. And so we've really lived in a youth culture. The United States, since the baby boom after World War II, we've shaped our culture, our innovation, our industries by young people getting out, taking risks, starting new businesses, building the economy. We're really pivoting now faster and faster toward a geriatric culture where old people like myself, we're the growing population. And that is going to mean a United States in the years ahead that many people say will be unrecognizable.
Does your reporting detail the rationales why people seem to say and tell
for women in their 20s to have
Feminism.
more children, to have children sooner? Now what we're seeing, and this is a remarkable shift, we now see half of all American women reaching age 30 without being moms. Some of those women are having babies later. We're seeing actually some increases in motherhood in age 35 and older, but not enough to offset this really stunning drop in women in their 20s who are opting out.
Yeah, it's such a huge drop and it's stunning. Like he said, it's just insane. I can't believe that we are destroying ourselves and leading towards expediting human expedition. It's such a crazy rate.
It's important to say this is not all downside. A lot of those women, because they don't have children or they have fewer children, are getting more education. They're starting careers.
Yeah, and that's the problem, though. Rachel Wilson had brought this up on a podcast. Whenever you take education and put that as a priority above everything else, childbirths start plummeting through the basement. And what did I talk about, in regards to Rome at the beginning of this, Japan, all those societies have plummeted into where they have this death spiral of birth rate populations. It's just really bad. The decline is happening right now, and it's real.
Building businesses and lives. And so there are trade-offs here. It's demographically very challenging for the country, but for some women and some couples, there's a big payoff here.
And to that same point, the declining teen birth rate is good news, right?
I think it's astounding.
Yeah, there's a trade-off. Declining teen birth rate, yay, it's declining, but also women are putting it off to later, meaning most of them are not having kids. Birth rate plummeting through the basement. Yeah. Whenever you have things like this, like education, no teen pregnancy, and all this, you have to think, and the mind boggles, what's the trade-off? And that's what they're discussing now.
Good news. This is a public health victory, a social win that in the United States we've been looking for decades, long after a lot of other developed countries had solved the teen pregnancy problem. The United States was still seeing a lot of very young women and even children having babies. This 1 year decline of 7%, that builds on improvements that have been happening for years. So yes, it affects the demographics of country, but I think this is one trade-off that everyone is happy with. And
No.
Birth rate is
Dad.
declining to the point where
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get to Andrew Wilson on whatever. This is a good clip that I brought up too.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.
Okay, next clip. Next clip. Let's go. Anyways, the next clip should be Andrew Wilson on whatever. Let me see if I can fast forward just a tad bit. This is taking a little bit too long. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's effing go, ladies
it's a
and gentlemen.
negative thing that the birth rate is declining to the point where we can't even sustain our population.
Well, we could if we'd allow immigrants to come in. But
wait. So you want to replace the population?
no, I'm not a replacement theorist. But
You want to replace the population?
Can we go back?
No. We can.
Wait, you have to do this somehow. You either have to replace the population with births that your country's having, or you're going to outsource this with another culture outside of this and look externally to replace your population. Either way, you're replacing your populations. The question is to how we're doing this.
Can you answer the question? If it is the case that our population's massively decreasing, which you just conceded it is, because women are having children older, which you just conceded they are, and you say that's a good thing,
I'm not.
and then say it wouldn't go down if we had immigrants come in. How's that not replacing the population?
The U.S. birth rate plunged
yeah, all bad.
to an all-time low in 2024 after on a downward trajectory roughly 20 years with soaring housing costs, cited as major contributing factor.
You know what, this guy, PBD, Patrick Bet-David, he looks like he could be Emmett's dad. Am I wrong for saying that, chat? Or is there a resemblance? Because I see it.
Earlier this summer, U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention released an updated birth rate for this year, revealing that the nation's national fertility rate to less than 1.6. I think the exact number is 1.59 to be exact. Kids per woman, down from 2.1 just 19 years ago. Wow. Jeez. Which that's the replacement rate, by the way. The country needs to sustain its population. The last 2 decades saw women increasingly delaying having children or choosing to not have them at all. There are many factors fueling this trend, including personnel and culture, and one of them is rising housing costs. Data analyzed by Realtor.com economists show that 2006 to 2024, the financial burden of purchasing a home has grown dramatically. In 2006, the median price of a single-family home was $222,000, which is now $343,000 in 2024 dollars when adjusted for inflation. But by comparison, the median sale in 2024 was $410,000, which is $66,000 more total fertility rate.
From having kids, the biggest problem is what we discussed last week. You have young men in America that want nothing more than to settle down, have a family, have a wife, have kids.
Yeah, that's what men want. But it's the problem with this is the dating market is shit right now. It honestly is shit. And I'm going to reiterate and say this again. There was somebody that I was talking to last month on the dating market. Yes, I'm on dating sites and all this other stuff. Maybe it's a little bit too personal information, but this is true. The problem with this is my belief system. More men are turning to Christian ethics and turning over to Christian ideology, more than anything else. It's almost like flooding the country as men are leaning more into conservatism and I would say Republican side of things as women are leaning into liberalism. The problem with this is, though, too, is there's a lot of issues. I was told last month by a woman that I was talking to, she said, "Hey, Marte, you have everything that I want. You're smart, you're articulate, you're intelligent, you have a decent job, you're in school right now, you have a lot of potential to be an amazing husband and good father." You know what this woman told me? She said, but not right now. I got a whole life to live right now. I got a lot more living to do before I get locked down and get married. Literally told me this. And there's two other men that I know that were told the same thing by women out there in the dating market. The problem with this is I was saying something like, why? So you could just get out in the dating market and just experience all kinds of men and how they are and everything else, only to be this different woman that has to settle down as a wife. Like, I don't want a woman that's ran through that much, or, this is the mindset that's perpetuating the dating market right now. This is all bad. Nobody wants that. This is crazy.
This is something that men have notoriously been known to do.
Yeah, we all want that, but this is what feminism has given us. Feminism gave us a society to where now these women are free. They're bosses. Why do they need you? And here's another thing too. Feminism has told women, you need to go to education, make a lot of money. You don't need to depend on any man. But then when they do want a man, they're making all this money and their dating pool shrinks. Their dating pool has shrunk and they're now fighting over the 20% of men, some odd, whatever that is. I don't have the stats right now, but these are things that are often said. Go figure.
All throughout history. So that's sort of like the staple in this. The variable in this is the mindset of what women are doing these days. Modern feminist movement has ruined a lot of women, and they'd rather focus on their careers than family. And all you have to simply do is this: is if you're a woman, like this is my best advice for young women. If you're 22, you're 24, you're 18, you're 28, go talk to a 50-year-old woman that never got married, never had kids, but wanted to.
Oh man, that's the most tragic story you'll ever hear in your life. You know, and then they're on TikTok crying. You know, I wish I hadn't bought into the lies of feminism. Yes, this populace does exist, and they are on TikTok crying. But guess what happens? It gets drowned out in the algorithm by these OF workers and people trying to sell poussoir on the internet. Yeah, that's what's happening is these women live with resentful thoughts in their later years, wishing that they could have been wives, could have been matronly women. No, went ahead and squandered off all this time by living my best life, and now their birthing years are gone, and cats.
You'll see nothing but regret in their eyes, and they'll mask it with things like, you know, I was focused on my career, this one guy I dated, you know, these are all just excuses. And there's nothing that I would like to see more that young men and young women actually come together and find some common ground here. So it was what, number one on the list for young men, Pat?
Having
to settle
children.
down, have a family, right?
Those who voted for Trump.
And it was for liberal women. It was what number on the list?
Number 12.
So you have young men.
Wait, hold on. So the number one thing for people that voted for Trump, as far as people, the priority is having kids and having a family, right? But on the liberal side, that ranks number 12. That's crazy. So when people tell me things like, maybe you can have two different political beliefs and still be under the same household. No, because obviously, according to the stat, the priorities are going to be different, because if I'm with a liberal woman and my priorities are to have kids and a family, that's like number 12 on her list if she's a liberal. You see how this isn't going to work? I can't vote for Trump and then have somebody else vote for Kamala Harris in the last administration and us live under the same roof and me call her wife is crazy. She's just going to cancel my vote out.
I wouldn't even say they're conservative. They're just normal, sensible, common sense guys that want a chick. And they're fighting the struggle of modern feminism. And I see it all the time. You meet a young...
Hey, what's up, Omni Man? Good to see you in the chat.
Woman, she's amazing. You check out, and then you click on her link in bio, and it goes to OnlyFans. And it happens way more than you think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm on the dating market right now, and the biggest dating site that I know of is actually Instagram. I go to Instagram because a lot of these women that I meet sometimes, they'll say, hey, instead of giving my contact information, I'm going to use my Instagram. The first thing I do, because the reason why Instagram is such a hot commodity in the dating market is because you get to see the life that you want to live with somebody else and how they function in dating, or the life that they portray. The last thing that you as a guy want to see, because this is also with the advent of feminism, a byproduct, is you'll see a link tree. Then you'll click on the link tree and you're hoping that you don't see OnlyFans. And guess what? You see an OnlyFans and you're like, damn, you know what? You're for everybody. Everybody has access to you for $5.99. You're not as special as I wanted you to be because I have to share you with everybody else. Crazy work here.
And the most gorgeous women out there that used to be housewives or wonderful women or church-going women are now OnlyFans girls. And this is a continual perpetuating problem. And then young men.
Omni-Man says, I'm just going to call you Omni-Man. Imagine having to invent a secondary purpose for your life instead of what's obviously natural. Even if you're an evolutionist, yes. mind-blowing. These people do not want to have children. They'll put it off till their later years, and then they're crying on TikTok and crying on social media saying, I wish I would have did this. Nope, you can't get time back. You can't roll the years back. What's done is done, and somebody's turning 18 every single day. Yeah, you can't compete anymore, and you can't have kids. Yeah, all bad.
Are faced with the decision of, wow, I met this girl. Am I really going to lower my standards for this beautiful woman who does OnlyFans? Nope. And they're going to say, I don't know about that. Is this really the type of girl I'm going to bring home for mom? And women, I understand. Make your money, have your career.
No, don't make your money. Don't have your career. Damn, when's the last time I heard a woman saying what I have to offer my husband? This is something that women never say, and feminism eliminated this. I hear all day long is a man better give me this. He better do this and he better do that. And if I don't got my nails did and my hair did and everything else did, you know what I never hear these black women say? This is what I can give to my husband. This is what I have to offer my husband. This is uttered in their mouth the month of February. You'll never hear this because feminism has wrecked that for women too and men.
But it is going to come at a price. And I hope that the price is worth it. Please talk to older women and see what they think. That's my advice for young women.
I 100% agree with Adam, and I'm going to add this to it. And thank you very much for that, Adam. You're absolutely right. And I'm going to add to it
take it, Tom.
that liberalism.
I'll take it to the bank.
Yeah, liberalism and progressive policy, to add on to what Adam's talking about, the only progress that progressive liberalism has done is made progress breaking the family, made progress trying to teach the tenets of family break in the schools, being able to push liberalism. That's progressive.
Yeah, that's all they've done is made progress in deconstructing the family unit.
That's where they're making progress, is in infiltrating the minds of young men and young boys and girls that grow up to have exactly the dynamic that Adam's talking about. A guy that is looking to get married and looking around for who, and then finding out what the mindset of a lot of women, not all of them out there, is all about. And it's devastating. I don't understand what writer went to a whiteboard to put these two things together. And I agree with Adam at the beginning. They just slammed these two things together, the hodgepodge, and made a story. But this is deeper. Maybe an expensive house is part of it. But at the end of it, you've got progressive policy has destroyed marriage and has infiltrated the minds of kids, which is why conservative people want this stuff not taught in schools, so that kids can grow up. And when you take a look at replacement rate, take a look at what happens downstream. You destroy the family, your taxes long-term go up, and you destroy the fabric of that country.
Yeah, you do. And you create the reduction of workforce, because if we have no births and the birth rate plummets, who's going to work the infrastructure jobs in 2045? Who's going to work the jobs? Who's going to take care of the elderly? Oh, crap. There is no elderly populace because they died off. Everybody else in this modern day and era wants to be as selfish as hell. You know what? I'll put it off. Girl, take the trip, buy the Gucci bag, do whatever you want to do. Next thing you know, you turn around, you're 45 years old, and your womb is iffy if you want to have a baby. Yeah, it's a no-go. And now all of a sudden you're wondering where you are on the market, lonely, and you go home to a cold bed and your toy has batteries to outsource that because you don't have anything in your bed to protect you, provide, or keep you warm at night, but Duracell batteries that get cold, and go get your replacement. It's really stupid.
Can you show that or no?
Rob, can we show that clip?
Is that part of a
Andrew
special?
Schultz?
If it is, you can't show it.
I don't know if you can do that.
Nah, it's, he's on stage. It might be a special.
Okay, then don't show. But what's he saying right there, Rob?
Rob,
I don't know.
Is their progressive mindset?
All right, I'll fast forward a little bit real quick. Let's go ahead and fast forward just a tad bit. I know PBD's got some nuggets here, but let's go.
Hard, bro. He's like, your mind. If you're, you know what I mean? If your right eye is looking somewhere, cut it out.
Be a Muslim girl, be like that.
The church. Wait a minute. If you see bad plumbers in town, would you not be a plumber? No, you'd be the best plumber you could be.
What I learned in life, some principles you believe in. Now, I don't get DMs from the Packers, and I love what are things, mosquito, and things happening. You got to know a lot of
Here we go.
Internally was finalized 2 weeks ago. Go ahead, Rob. I have a big announcement to make to you today. Let me tell you what it is. For Manek today, September, the biggest month to come, the announcement. Excited about this partnership.
Thanks for coming by.
Yes, of course.
And what I love about this is
50 to 500,000 announcements that's coming in, I think.
All right, here we go. Finally.
Why are birth rates dropping steadily in the developed world? And why can't any government in that same world seem to do anything about it? I mean, this may sound like an exaggeration, but it's a question every developed country is currently grappling with. Governments have thrown everything they can at this problem, from cash incentives, subsidized daycare, even tax cuts for families, and yet none of it seems to be working. Take Japan, for example.
Japan is cooked, ladies and gentlemen. They're asking people like United States Americans to go over there and replace their population. They're paying people to do this. That's what they're trying to do right now. They're cooked, ladies and gentlemen. Also, South Korea, cooked. They're not even going to have a society at all anymore from the looks at this. It's dwindling so much. It's like circling the drain. There's like the little death circle that's happening right now. The United States will be following soon in this extinction level event that's slowly happening due to feminism.
Back in the 1990s, the Japanese government saw the country's rapidly declining birth rate and responded with policies that should have worked, at least in theory.
Yeah, they can't save their population at all. Their population is cooked. Like to the point to where nothing can happen right now. They can't pull it back, save anything.
That should have worked, at least in theory. Childcare leave, cash allowances, paternity leave for fathers, and a cultural push for men to share the household burden. But none of it made a difference. In fact, things have only gotten worse with Japan.
Yeah, and that's, you know what? Feminism is going to expedite this at such a rapid rate. This is crazy.
Japan's birth rate plummeting even further to a dismal 1.2 children per woman. So, why are these efforts failing? Maybe it's because governments are treating it as a simple economic problem. But it turns out having kids isn't purely an economic decision. In fact, it's more of a spiritual and a psychological one. People don't decide to have children based on tax credits or subsidies. Children are an expression of something deeper. I mean, yes, children can certainly be expensive, but a quick look at demographics and we see that it's not like rich people are the ones having more kids.
They're the least having kids, and then middle class are also some of the least having kids. The most people having kids are the poor people having kids.
Maybe that's because the desire to have kids is rooted in things like love, community, meaning, things that can't be simply reduced to dollars and cents. And every time the government tries to solve this issue by adding another financial incentive, they're missing the point. They can't create the conditions that make people want to bring life into the world. In fact, many of the conditions created by the government are doing the opposite for a lot of people. Government spending and inflation have actually contributed not only to the poor economic conditions that those same politicians are trying to address with even more government spending, but the apparent inability or unwillingness to deal with issues like crime are creating the very conditions that cause people.
Hey, thanks, TVT. I appreciate coming and smashing a like. TVT says, popping in to smash a like, heading to sleep. Good to see Marte. Hope you're well, bro. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Have a good night, man. Take care. I'm almost done wrapping this up.
People to think twice about bringing up a child in this kind of world. The fact is, politicians seem to believe that they're great at solving problems, provided they can measure the problems. But when it comes to creating the emotional and spiritual conditions that lead to new life, they seem to be far better at doing the opposite. In fact, as we've seen time and again, the more the state intervenes, the more the problem seems to get worse. The reality is, governments seem to be great at reducing the birth rate. We've seen this in China with the one-child policy, and in Japan, post-World War II, when contraception and abortion were legalized in order to reduce population growth. But when it comes to raising it, that's a whole different matter. You can't just simply legislate love. And you can't incentivize the kind of sacrifice and joy that comes with raising children by adding another tax credit.
Yeah, he's right. Governments were great at dwindling the population, but as far as incentivizing and promoting growth, not really successful and hasn't been the mainstay of something that they're good at all. History shows us and tells us all this.
In the end, politicians may argue that policies like paid parental leave or child tax credits can help those who already have kids or want them. But the problem is they won't change the fundamental reasons why people aren't having them in the first place. So I know it probably sounds crazy to a politician who is on a mission to solve this issue, but maybe the solution is less government involvement in every aspect of our lives. Maybe what people need is for the government to stop helping in the form of tax schemes or more programs or more interference, and instead just focus on the very few things they could actually do to help, like keeping our streets safe or letting people keep more of their own money. Turns out the more freedom people have to plan their own lives without wondering what a politician is going to do next, the happier and more secure they feel in order to bring children into the world.
Do you have a why you would like us?
Yeah, and that's the problem, though, and I'll say that right now, is like that's one of the biggest problems. Government intervention is not going to help the birth rates at all. That's probably one of the last things we need. The church has been taken out of schools. Prayer has been taken out of school. Hell, the Pledge of Allegiance has been taken out. We don't even have patriotic traditions that we destabilized all that in the classrooms, in schools, and everywhere else. Just insane. Anyways, I'll play this real quick before I do my outro. This show has been a black pill galore for me, as I've heard Margaret Sanger speak for the first time and go through her little diatribe of like why I believe that it's successful for a marriage to not produce kids and use birth control their whole marriage and never have kids. It's more intelligent, says Margaret Sanger. Crazy. So, I mean, I don't know. I could have gone over so much her racial ideological premise for like why she didn't want black kids and all this. Anyways, that's a whole thing that I can go over. But let me go ahead and play this real quick before I do my outro, because this is very important. This is the whole premise of tonight's show. Pattern in history that's destroying every civilization without a single battle being fought. Not war, not plague, not economic crisis, but the moment a society stops replacing itself and begins the irreversible slide into demographic death, population collapse. This is how a civilization dies quietly. Rome, the empire that ruled the known world for 5 centuries, didn't fall to barbarian invasions. It hollowed out from within as population birth rates collapsed, and the population that built the empire simply stopped existing. Japan, the 3rd largest economy on Earth, is losing 800,000 people per year, the equivalent of erasing San Francisco annually, with no reversal in sight. South Korea has a birth rate of 0.72. This country will cease to exist. And right now, in 2025, you are living right in the beginning of the greatest demographic collapse in human history. 25 countries are in stage 5 population collapse. Not declining, but slowly collapsing. Fertility rates below replacement level all across Europe, across Asia, across every developing region, across the planet right now. Feminism is doing a number on the whole world right now, as we will cease to exist should this keep going at the rate it's going. Here's what should terrify you. This isn't a problem with future generations. The collapse already is locked in. The children who aren't being born today won't be workers in 2045. The economic crisis is already guaranteed. The only question is how severe it becomes, and how fast it accelerates. This is the story of how civilizations die through demographic collapse, how it destroyed Rome, and how it's happening to Japan and Korea right now, as I've explained it to you right now. This pattern is developing all around the world right now. It's going to become irreversible should we become partaking of this trajectory we're on right now. As I've explained, Rome, 15,000 years before anyone understood what was happening. In this episode, we will be discussing feminism, expediting human extinction, the demographic time bomb that is to come for American societies and more globally across the world, as this ideology that women have espoused and pushed for is dooming humanity as we speak. Listen, this has been a crazy episode. I wanted to go ahead and bring you guys some more content. So I'll say this before I end the show. I'm going to do my little outro. What's crazy, though, is with human interest dwindling when it comes to important issues such as feminism, such as the onslaught of teachers essaying students in classrooms, which I talked about on my Woke Autopsy podcast, amongst other things. I've gotten a lot of responses. People are saying, well, Woke Autopsy, I tuned out because it was mainly about you when it should have been about the guests. I don't know how, when my questions were in relation to my guests and their lives, as it were, to talk about these. And then I tackled big issues. We had Rollo Tomasi on talking about the advent of like teachers sleeping with students and how feminism opened the door for this, to them not getting penalized or getting the same time as men doing the same thing. I went ahead and talked about the Orthodox Christian producer who produced 50 Cent's last movie. All of this, I brought decent content, good people. Dr. Evo was here. Jay Dyer's produced, Jim Bob's producer. But what's crazy, though, I had such short views for that podcast. Also, believe it or not, I didn't have a high podcast count for this for watchers. This content isn't held in high regard for people. They don't, you guys, I mean, I'm not saying you, whoever watches, but tackling strong issues such as feminism, the issue with teachers sleeping with boys in the classrooms, other issues like the silencing of this last Orthodox film that came out in theaters with the producer who produced 50 Cent's last. And when I say you guys, I'm not talking about you specifically who tune into this podcast. You guys aren't interested in this. But yeah, when I hold a podcast called Junk Food and we talk about like two black women, ghetto women fighting each other, the people stay for that show. People stay for the ADHD clips and all this. But when I talk about real issues such as feminism, such as teachers sleeping with students, such as orthodoxy films getting no treatment, I even reached out to some content creators. Hey, Yelena Popovich was wondering if you could promote her movie because she's been silenced and damn near blacklisted out there as an Orthodox filmmaker. Nope. Nobody, even Orthodox people I know, want to contribute in sharing this at all. It's almost like, damn, man, even Orthodox people do not want to promote Orthodox films, which is crazy. They don't want to help or do anything. It's like, we're silenced. Fine. I guess we got to go back to the caves, whatever, right? I get it. But we'll be having a new podcast coming through. I'm just going to run through my Horrors of series, the few that I have left, and then we're going to jump onto Junk Food Podcast, the thing that you guys want to hear about, ghetto baby mamas fighting and all this other stuff, the quick stuff that gets your mind off of the world and kind of is a distraction. People love distraction content. I'll do that. You know, it's like, it's not me just caving in. It's just like, I don't want to do all the research, meaning like, if I'm hunting down Yelena Popovich, the director of film, trying to get Dr. Evo's schedule, Rollo Tomasi, who was tough to pin down with his schedule, and doing all this work only to have 9 viewers? Like, that's insane. I'm not doing all that for 9 viewers to tackle really hard-hitting topics that are extremely important when I could just hold junk food content and there'd be 40, 50 people watching. And I could just do no work putting it into a podcast and just throw it together and just banter and laugh and talk. Maybe it's good because you guys like it because it's distraction material. Who knows? Anyways, I went on a little bit of a rant there, but yeah, it's crazy. Nobody wants hard-hitting content, insane. It's yeah, Locke, and that's what's happening. He says, sad but true. A lot of people want to watch the circus. I was wondering, is there a way I can get a hold of you after the stream? Yeah, on my Discord, you can get a hold of me. In fact, if you'd like to hop up on the Junk Food Hour, that's cool. I've had streams like the Woke Autopsy. I had 50 Cent's direct. I've had Mark Selbach from Deadliest Catch on, and nobody really wanted to tune into that. Like, I've had celebrities on the podcast, and people were like, whatever. Like I said, I'm going to reiterate again. Yeah, but when I hold content like 2 baby mamas fighting in an alley, one guy trying to pew another guy, and police show up, a police chase, everybody tunes into that content. Real drama stuff, junk food stuff. But when I hold content like this, like Margaret Sanger and the roots of feminism and why the dating market is trash. Nobody wants to tune into this. Nobody wants to tune in. Nobody cares about this. It's like, it's to be honest, this is why our civilization's falling, because people have such short attention spans, this TikTok mindset that they have. Then not to mention that, it's like when you hold content that's going to be contemplative and make people think, nobody wants that. They want the Jerry Springer show. They want the Maury Povich. This is the content they want. Yet I understand why AJ's content gets a lot of people watching, because we can laugh at the Shaniquas and all that. That's the direction I'm going to kind of be moving in. Because when I hold hard-hitting, compelling content such as this, people are like, whatever. What else? What's more entertaining? I don't want to have to think at this hour. That's probably what it is. People really don't want to think at this hour. They don't want to think about, they don't want to have more self-awareness or situational awareness or environmental awareness or societal awareness. They kind of want to tune out for a bit. And maybe that's really it. They say people vote with their wallets all the time and vote with their pockets. Well, you guys are voting with your views. And because I'm not getting a lot of views whenever I hold this content, I can see the distinction between me holding this content that's contemplative and me holding junk food content, which everybody swarms to. Guess where I'm going to move, because that's how you guys are voting, to be honest with you. Hey, you know what? I didn't write the rules. That's just how it's going. That's just how it's happening right now. Locke says, what's your Discord? Let me see if I can put it in the chat real quick. Give me 2.2 seconds and I'll see if I can put it in the chat. 3, 2, what? I'm like doing a countdown and not doing any justice to this. Hold on real quick. Invite. Let me see. Copy link. Let me go to my own stream right now. I'm actually doing this on my phone just so you guys can know. Let's go ahead and click this. What the hell? I know that's not the stream. Oh, yeah, this is the stream. There you go. I just plugged the Discord in the stream, and there you go. You can send me a friend request and write me a message there. Locke, if you get this, insane. Locke says, don't get discouraged. Dude, YouTube is a strange monster like that. Yes, I know. YouTube is very strange, so I might produce more content like this, but I know that people aren't going to be interested in it. To be honest with you, even though I'm interested in it, I like being on the front lines and debating against feminism and debating against these libtards and debating against these simps that want to defend women, getting out here and banging everything that moves. All that's doing is just corrupting society to where it's like not even producing a society you want for your daughters, i.e. the content that I'm trying to produce right now. But anyways, I digress. Insane podcast. Insane that people don't care about this content anymore. But it's not that I'm getting discouraged. I think I'm becoming more black-pilled, to be honest with you. When it comes time for me to hold this content, people generally don't care about it. And you know what? I guess people want a distraction. They like escapism. That's where it's at right now. But let me go ahead and end this podcast on a crazy note. Let me go ahead and get my dramatic music playing real quick. We've stared into the abyss tonight, the one we created, not with weapons of war, but with the lies that we told ourselves. The children were chains. That motherhood was oppression. That later would always come. It didn't. And now the clock is no longer ticking. It stopped. Entire nations have vanished before our eyes. Civilizations that conquered continents now surrendering to empty nurseries and aging ghosts. The sexual revolution delivered sterility dressed as freedom. Feminism sold women a future without descendants, and they bought it. This is how humanity ends. Not with a bang, but with the quiet click of 1,000 ultrasound machines turned off forever. The question is no longer if we go extinct, it's how soon. And how many of us will still be left pretending it isn't happening? So ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, will you keep swallowing the lie, or will you fight for the only future that matters, the one that begins with a child? The choice is yours, but time is not. This has been the horrors of feminism and the extinction of man. Sleep well, ladies and gentlemen, if you can. The future looks barren as we move forward into this abyss that we stared into. So, John Locke, I want to say John Locke. I don't want to accuse you of being that guy, but Locke the Bounty Hunter says, it's easy to get black-pilled. Yes, that's why it's tough to stave off from being black-pilled. Extremely tough. We have to stave off from being black-pilled. It's tough holding out any kind of semblance of hope, especially in this dating market that I have to exist in. Insane. Feminism, you are a bastard. Feminism, you are evil. In any stage or wave that you have in feminism, it's just a cancer. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you adieu as we end the stream. Christ is God, be well. And yeah, check yourself before you wreck yourself, especially on this dating market. It's wild out there and it's a jungle. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.